So we are, it's Sunday and we're headed into the gym. I've erased some footage where I was doing some drive-through orders from McDonald's to In-N-Out Burger to Starbucks, and I wasn't able to, so this Insta360 camera is very fickle. You have to have it on video for it to actually effectively, so like on the actual camera here, you have to like swipe it through and make sure it's on video, or if it's on anything else like time lapse or whatever, once it's recording on the phone through the app, it will, you can't, at least from my knowledge, you can't put it back. So it's really important how you record from the get-go. The reason I'm not capturing like actual workouts yet is because I'm not feeling the flow. If I don't feel the flow, I'm not doing it. I'm not forcing it. Got to understand the situation I'm in is every time that I would be serious about training, it always entailed carbohydrates. Like even when I was doing carbohydrate cycling and I would just live on protein powder for weeks at a time, sometimes I'd get down as lean as I possibly could, and then the first thing I would do is carbo load. I'd chow load, because that's what makes your muscles big, that's what fills your muscles up, that's what gives you power and energy. Without that, the truth is that's what drives ketosis. That's how I'm getting leaner and burning fat. But with that said, you only have so much energy, so I rely on, I'm gonna say, stimulant sources of energy, which is not great, but as I get leaner, the fat adaptation, the ketosis, seems to do the trick. But everybody's trying to work on this, right? This is the big mystery. So what I do is I carry around these MCT oils at present, and I notice like Tom DeLure, I don't know if that's an older interview, which I think it is, and I think he just remixed it with Michaela Peterson. I really don't like her. I don't like her father either. They're just, I could call them too many expletives. I don't care for them. I don't think they're interesting on any level, and I think that they are the type of people who want to be sitting on top of the populist movement and want to be liked a little too much. You know, you can feel the energy. So for those who really don't have that intuitive, innate, a priori way of feeling people and understanding what their true intentions are, there's a sucker born every day, and I see them both as snake oil salesmen. I don't think she looks healthy, you know, but there's probably a lot of people who think I don't look healthy. But if you look at me last year, and there's something to be said for the mental health, and I don't think either one of them are mentally healthy people.
Now turn right.
Jordan or Michaela. I don't prefer them. And that's what really offsets me, is I will talk about those that I don't like, because the or ideologies that you see that transpose from specific individuals, like Tom DeLure, even though he has such a C word on his channel, I still respect him. And even though he has a lot of people that he interviews on his channel, that's his channel, you know. And the amount of information that he puts out that's so benevolent and so good and so practical, I've benefited from in a myriad of different ways, and it's not, you know, any negatives. And so I posted up, long story short, I posted up that most recent video blog post that Tom DeLure did of Michaela Peterson, because there's value in that. So my respect for Tom and, you know, the academic, like he's educating the world. If you're going to subscribe to one channel, now things change and people change, but for a, you know, a relatively young dude, younger than me, and someone who's really super fit and is carrying a good amount of muscle mass, I mean, people could say, oh, he's on this, on that. Look, I've done that stuff myself, even though that wasn't the height of my performance or my fitness. Like, all natural is the way to go. I'm telling you 100%. You don't ever need to mess with anything, but you are going to be 20 or 30 pounds lighter. But when you're standing next to people who are, you know, doing Proviron or Winstrol, or, you know, playing around with test suspension and trying to kind of like appear like they are the natural bodybuilding or natural physique athlete, they aren't. And it becomes very apparent. And you can achieve that level of hardness, and I have, and leanness and vascularity with supplements and with constant training. But when I say constant, you need to go in and do these, what I used to call mastellar micro workouts. They're mini sessions of sometimes as little as 4 sets. Like I'm planning on doing that. I did that yesterday, actually. Yesterday I went in and my focus was on just getting in 3 or 4 really solid sets of arm curls. The highest I went was 50 pounds. Today I could go in and pick up 55s. I know my body. I've done this more than recently. And, well, a year ago, as you know. Can't lie, and not trying to. And then within like 3 to 5 days, I'll be picking up those 60s. And what happens is my shoulders, my traps, everything that I have to use, even my core for stabilization, just from doing those heavy curls. Not doing the curls, I noticed a huge deficit in my training. Even just the high pulley body weight curls, which is really impressive to be able to do a curl, but you're not just using your biceps, you know, you're using a lot of lats and things like that. But so that's what has kept me kept the biceps and the peak good. But as far as the thickness, you need those dumbbells. I mean, there are ways to do it, but I'm not Mr. Calisthenics King. I really do believe in the gym. I am a gym rat, and I know that it would be nice to wean off of that and start doing more isometrics. But anyway, I digress. Got to get a little workout in. We're going to be working on back today. I'll go in and maybe do some flexing in the restroom just to keep track of where I'm at. Again, I'm posting up for myself, for my own video log, and I happen to have a more than a small audience. Like, what I noticed is that I get more global views from new people who are just infrequenting my channel and watching the videos and gaining a familiarity over me. When I make videos specifically for the fickle aspect of people who subscribe, I don't make my videos for my subscribers. Sorry to say. I make them for the thousands of views. I'll get like, 1,500 views a day globally, through Asia, India, all over the world. But when I start to make videos specifically for subscribers and to make subscribers happy, so this isn't really a subscription channel. It's got more to do with reaching a larger audience, because I feel like the orthomolecular nutrition, the small micro workouts, my age, and the fact that I'm doing this on Carnivore meets several different key points for people, to where there's an education here. And then I post up on the community posts a lot of educational material. So I'm giving everything that I can for the community and for the subscribers. So when I say this isn't a subscription channel, I'm not pandering to any fickle nature of having to fit into anybody's likes, whims, or desires. I'm not here for your entertainment, but if you're entertained, I'm here to entertain you. In other words, I'm doing what I do, education first. I'm an old school trainer, personal trainer, with thousands upon thousands of trainings under my belt, lots of success, great, I've had well over 65 clients that I've juggled at one time, made over six figures, going 12, 15 years back, had over 25 certifications at the top certifications. And I know exactly what I'm doing, and I knew what I was doing when I got out of this last year. When I had got back into this, I wasn't going to go back into training until my spiritual, you could say, my spiritual center, my spiritual self was developed. And what I found is that it's very difficult to do both at the same time. In fact, it's probably impossible to focus on the carnal or the temporal. So this is through mere survival that we eat meat on this planet, with samsara, dukkha dharma, however you want to, we're dealing with the plight, the snake eating its tail. And it's only so ironic that the carnivore diet would be the main diet that works for the majority of people. Now, is it right? Does it go along philosophically, spiritually, one might say, and definitely principally with what I believe in? No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. But I do think that the only way to get away from eating meat is to get superior technological. I'm not talking about eating Jeff Bezos, Amazon, weird, like that stuff that they're growing in petri dishes is really bizarre. But I'm not saying that's not it. I mean, it is living tissue, but it wasn't an animal. But I guarantee, just like abortion rights, they'll find that once we find out that consciousness, and even more, a pervading consciousness, a higher level of consciousness, right? Maybe even a transcendent consciousness exists even in single-celled organisms. Once we really find out those borders of consciousness, that we had so much hubris and assumption, we're going to tread much more lightly on what we eat and what we design for ourselves. And I think that human epoch, I think we've reached this time before. So that this is going to be a video. What I do is I wrap this camera up. I put it in my tactical pants on the lower pocket. And then if I feel like I got a good pump, I pull it out, go into the men's locker room. And once I start wearing the lanyard and going in and actually filming sessions, I want to feel like I'm 100% cued in on what I'm going to do, that I'm not doing like rows where I, have to take it off and put it back on. They'll probably be mainly like, exercise routines where I'm jumping on the TRX, I'm doing bar dips, I'm doing standing curls, I'm doing a lot of free motion machine type exercises. And right now I'm still in the formative stages of my training, getting back in the gym. This is only my 4th day, to where I'm still trying to get my systemic, what I do is I try to make sure that every muscle group is thoroughly worked, right? And that I have at least 2 or 3, maybe even 4 good sessions in with each and every muscle group. And as you know, I'll work like 3 to 5 muscle groups at a time. And even half of my entire physique, I'll work in one workout. And that's just the way that I've always trained. But I will fashion things around back, chest, back, core. That's how I designed my routines for my clients as well as myself, because I found that I could mix in kettlebell training or stabilization training in with that based on kind of a mesocycled program. So I would look at all the NSCA or the NASM protocols for mesocycling, and then I would throw the script away, and each person really has to remember where their performance was prior to, so the more competitive it is, obviously the more you have to chart the exact weights that you're using, the exact amounts. But I never liked to train. I was more of a conditioning trainer, like a conditioning coach. I was a higher tier trainer for Equinox. I worked for 24 Hour Fitness. I worked for Bally's, which was cool. I met some great people when I worked there. I even worked for Club One. Some of those places I wasn't such a great employee because I was just focused on my own physique at that time. So I wasn't able to offer, the best of me. I spent running my own training businesses, and then partially with Equinox. But then when there was too much micromanagement, and all I got back was hate for everything that I put in, I said, no more. I'm not able to do what I need to do. I got a great education from there, and it really polished me off and finished off my educations as a trainer at that time. And I don't think they offer those types. I could be wrong, but the Equinox Fitness Training Institute, they had some amazing doctors and chiropractors coming in every week, from the Stanford area, Palo Alto, and educating us, sometimes doing like 2-3 hour, I'm going to say, symposiums right in the child care room. And it was just badass. It was just such information that you could go look up and reference books and reference the information. So, I would say just about everybody that stayed there during that time got a grand education where they could work with, under physical like top physical therapists, and that they would understand how to look at, not from a clinical setting, but x-rays and things like this, and really have a firm understanding of how far they could tread, what kind of advice they could give, and mostly the advice on how to set up a constituent program of medical experts. Because what you find is you're not ever, you're dealing with people that have, that earn higher level incomes. So you're always advising between 2, 4, and even 5 medical professionals. And then you don't stack yourself on. You're not greedy or desperate. You kind of show them in the tier system of where you'd fall in place. Sometimes it's just a couple times, a visit twice every 2 weeks, and then maybe every week. And then as somebody is going through their, as somebody's going through the protocol that their doctors recommend to them. And I'm talking about people who are recovering from lymphomic cancer. I mean, people that have like a 60, 70 degree apex, in the spine, where they, we're talking about spondylolisthesis, an extra pericardium, diabetics, people with metabolic syndrome, metabolic disease, all sort, every type of client that you could possibly think of, and some people that came into the money because they sued people because they were critically damaged, and now you're dealing with the aspect of, okay, I went through the 3 or 4 years of therapy. I couldn't walk. They had to put me back together, and this is like the time where I'm just able to do this. And so they had to come to the best trainer possible that wasn't going to put them in a critical state or critical status. And so you have to work them just enough. And so I'm instrumental at doing that. And as a middle-aged man now, coming from obesity, I'm fully aware of what I can handle. And I go through the same problems, the same rigors that anybody else does. I have major problems with my hips, major problems with my lower back. This shoulder gives me all kinds of problems. Having, I would probably get a shoulder replacement because it's always in such pain. Like, that's the type of pain that I deal with. So it's critical that I put on muscle mass at this point. It's critical that I do it right. But it's more critical that I start to integrate stretching and other things into my routine. And my routine's down as an old guy, an OG, if you will, an OOG. We, an old gangster. the first thing that I start in on is I get on that 35 degree, and yesterday I was able to get on the actual hyperextension and really stretch that back and those hips out. And that's where, when I go back into, you know, what is it? Anderson, Davis book on stretch, and I'm doing like self PNF type exercises and stretching and stuff like that. I will start first with my back, strengthening my back, doing core exercises, trying to get into more frontal plane movements. Then I go into more frontal plane, you know, side to side, the hips, stretching. Then I start to stretch more, you know, the lats and the serratus and so forth. And then I start getting into the sartorius, and I get into the hip region, and I really start to try and do like more piriformis stretches. And that's when it breaks into, you know, it's a slow progress toward when you go from strength training, stabilization strength training, into stretching, and then it starts to work more into max strength. So it's a process, and that's how I always train people. And I train people with great success, to where really, if they were articulate and they understood what my educations were all about, and the educations that I recommended to them, I would always source out. If the people weren't in my neighborhood or around me that I would source out to, I would source out really highly credible source information, which I've done on this channel, and I'll be getting more into that. But self PNF, getting into having an allergy with something. Even though the windows are closed, I'm getting the pollen or whatever that's coming off these trees. So anyway, I'm yapping, but look forward to when I say some amazing things. I can see that I have the instrumentation to do this thing. For a little while, I wasn't so sure. I'm like, wow, the bottom does drop out. Now I'm feeling like, okay, even at my age, but I'm pretty set back. And when I said last year that it takes 2 years to fully recover and fully get yourself instrumented. And so right now it's 9 o'clock, just going on 9 o'clock. I'm going to go in there. I'm just going to do about a half hour. And then before 10 a.m., I'll be working for the next several hours. So I want to make sure that I've gone to the bathroom and that I'm able to get in a good 4 to 6 hour shift prior to maybe going in and doing a second session. Second session isn't even necessary at this point. I mean, the first week, one session, even if it is only 9 to 12 exercises or 9 to 12 sets, sometimes 9 to 12 exercises, and I'll do different exercises every single set. And if I'm pushing myself enough, like if I train my biceps prior to, I do an exercise where I get a nice bicep stretch. Sometimes I'll jump in cold and I won't waste my time. You know, it does put a little bit more joint stress on, but if I'm doing one set, I might go to maximal. I might do a drop set. I just want to be able to, feel when I get back up to those 75-pound, 80-pound dumbbells where I'm doing the curls. And I only weigh 100, I'm around 155 pounds. So I'm curling more than my body weight. So that's another issue, is my body's very aware of my actual body weight. And so when I'm picking up poundages that far exceed my body weight, particularly on the bench coming up, I have to approach, even if I can lift the weight, you still get tousled around by the weight. You really have to be, the application of how you, re-rack and unrack the weights becomes of a critical nature. You could really hurt yourself. So even if you're super strong for your size in a specific mode or modality of exercise, plane of motion specifically, and you're working in a plane of motion, it doesn't mean that you can just toss the weights around. Like when I was 240 pounds and a lot of fat, I might be able to bench press the same amount of weight, but my body is going to react in a much different way, just based on the base of support. So anyway, we will talk to you soon. We'll see you in the gym. Rogue Beast Warrior.